Hello, everyone. It's Will, and I am here with a week-long forecast pick a card tarot reading. So I've chosen to start us off with the Star Spinner Tarot. I've just pulled the major arcana out. We're going to shuffle them in a moment and deal out three, and these will be the cards that you choose from to decide which of the readings is for you. First, I want to get some smoke on these cards. I have some Palo Santo here that I'm just going to burn. I'll also be using in the readings the Weiser Tarot. So I'll pull that out. And I'm going to use this little deck, the Squid Tarot de Marseille. So let's just get some smoke on these cards. All right. I'm setting this aside and I'm setting that aside. We will come back to those. Now let's shuffle the Star Spinner Majors and we'll pull out three of them. I want you to think about your current perspective on how you envision this next week for you. Okay, like what are you feeling about the upcoming week? And I want you to choose the card that most closely calls to you or speaks to you or matches your current feelings, what you're anticipating about the upcoming week, okay? And that will help guide us into your reading. This jumped out, so that's going to be number one. Number two, number three. I'm setting these aside. So, number one, we have the Hierophant. This is the first card that jumped out. So, the Hierophant makes me think of teaching and learning, right? It makes me think of social institutions. It makes me think of knowledge, wisdom that is passed down over time. If you don't know what to believe, if you don't know what to think, you might turn to the Hierophant for guidance. Okay, number two, Fortitude, also known as strength. This makes me think of inner strength, having the willpower and the ability to be your true self in front of other people, doing things that are maybe uncomfortable, taking risks that you know you need to take, and maybe feeling challenged to do that. It also makes me think of animals, particularly cats. If any of those draw you, number two is your reading. And number three, the Chariot. This makes me think of driving, getting a car, going on a trip, being successful, succeeding, feeling like you are strong on the outside and people view you in a way that maybe they look up to and they think that person knows where they're going. But maybe on the inside, you feel a little vulnerable at the same time. Maybe you don't feel completely like you're able to let others in as much as you would like to. I also, again, am thinking of animals. Here we've got these two adorable cats. So if that calls to you, then maybe group three is your reading. So take a moment, feel free to pause the video if you need to pause, and look at these three options that you have: the Hierophant for number one, Fortitude for number two, or the Chariot for number three. You'll see the timestamps below, and I will see you in your reading. Hello, group one, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Hierophant as the card that is marking out your week ahead from your perspective. We'll see what comes up in the cards I'm going to lay out here. This, of course, makes me think that you are either in a position to give advice to others, or maybe you feel like you're seeking advice from others. I notice that the Hierophant holds some keys here, right? Like the keys to knowledge, or the keys to unlocking something, right? Like maybe there's a door ahead of you metaphorically that is locked and you need to open it. I also notice, of course, the way that the Hierophant points to the heavens. So maybe you are on a journey, like maybe a spiritual journey of some kind, and you're wondering what's coming ahead for you in this upcoming week regarding that. So I'm going to set this, let's just set it up here off to the side a bit so that we can remember it. I'm not totally sure it's in the frame, but I'm going to bring out now the Weiser Tarot. I've shuffled these, it's the full deck. I'm going to do a little more shuffling here, and I'll lay out 7 cards, one for each day of the week approximately. In my experience, the cards don't always line up one card to one day in practice, right? So I'm going to lay out 7 cards, but like 2 or 3 cards might combine to describe a situation that doesn't necessarily last over exactly that number of days, right? But I do think the 7 cards give us a good overview, description, picture of what is coming for the upcoming week. What you can expect, what you can prepare for, what you should be thinking about, all of that. So I'll lay out 7 cards and we'll see what we get. Once I've done that, my plan is to pull 3 cards from the Squid Cake Tarot as a kind of here's what you need to know message going into that upcoming week. All right, let's do 7. 7 cards and see what we get. So we're starting with the 9 of Wands. Maybe you didn't get enough rest on the weekend. Things are piling up a bit. You feel like you this card I would expect to see more towards the end of the week. Although I suppose it depends on like what your schedule is. You know, maybe the beginning of the week you actually get like a little weekend 2-day break or something, or maybe you work every day. That's possible too. But here I would think you're starting off the week and you're already maybe going to feel kind of tired, like you already feel like you need a break. If any of you are students out there, maybe it's because it's the end of the term and you're like, how is this thing not over yet? That's the kind of vibe that I get from the 9 of Wands. You need a little break. Maybe you're also feeling kind of defensive or wounded. There's the sort of bandage wrapped around the figure's head that suggests not necessarily an actual wound, but like a wound to the spirit or the mind, a psychic wound, something like that. So maybe you've got some of that stuff that you're dealing with. Ooh, but then the lovers pop in. That's always fun to see. We love this card. I love how colorful it is. It's very beautiful. We've got it's a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, this one, obviously. So we've got the tree of knowledge, right? And the tree of life, I believe it is over here. So wisdom and life, a choice that needs to be made, perhaps. Maybe you've got a big choice coming up at the beginning of the week. And also, maybe there's a relationship involved. If you have a partner, then are you in a position to like get closer to them? Maybe in a kind of, to harken back to the Hierophant, spiritual way. I think of the way that, the Hierophant points upward. And then here we've got the male figure looking at the female figure, and she's looking up at the angel. So there's a beautiful triangle that leads us sort of up into the heavens, so to speak. So maybe you've got some deepening of your relationship, or if you're not in a relationship, maybe some progress will be made in a romantic way with someone early in the week, that would be something to consider. Next up, ooh, we've got the Fool. So maybe you're a love fool at the beginning of the week. You know, the Fool is unafraid, is not feeling any anxiety, is going off, ready to try something new. They're not even necessarily aware of the fact that they might get hurt. And that can be a very beautiful thing, but I would caution you against any naivete, right? Like going into something with no expectations, being open to it. But, also, you don't want to get hurt, right? Or, getting hurt is unavoidable in life, I suppose. So I guess what I'd say is go in with the knowledge that you can learn from that experience if you do get hurt, and maybe you won't, right? Maybe you won't. We have to see what the other cards show. But this looks like someone who is maybe getting ready to start some kind of relationship with someone. And if they're not starting a relationship, it's probably about making a choice to start something new, right? Some new thing is coming along. The fact that we've seen two majors so far in these seven random cards from the whole deck suggests something big could be happening this week, some big new beginning that you get to choose to walk into. Knight of Wands. So this could be a person. This could be you, could be another person in your life. It could also just represent a journey, like a passionate journey, right? I always think of knights as being on a quest, on a journey. And if you notice the salamanders on this person's clothing, they're chasing their tail, right? But they haven't caught their tail. So there's like this cyclical moving around, this passionate, fiery go, go, go that's happening. So could be that you have an actual trip of some kind involved, or maybe you're just having to do a little bit of travel this week. Or it could be that you're setting off on a more metaphorical quest or journey, and maybe it's a passionate one. I'd read earlier this first card, the Nine of Wands, in terms of being tired and maybe kind of defensive. But now, in the context of the other cards, I wonder more if it's about like you've attained something passionate and it's time to get that final push through to really ignite it. That is more what I'm thinking now that I'm seeing these other beautiful cards here. So that would be something to consider, right? The nine I think of as like you're almost at 10, right? You're so very, very close. You just need that last final push to get to the end of the suit, to bring it to fruition, so to speak. Okay, what do we have after the Knight of Wands? It's more wands. So got a lot of fiery energy here. So far we've got nothing but major arcana and wands. So here with two wands, this I think of as planning, preparing, could also refer to a choice. Twos are choice, and so are the lovers, right? So that matches up. But I think here we have someone who's like looking out. They haven't left their castle or their home, whatever it might be, but they're planning on it. They're thinking about it because they're holding a globe in their hand. They're looking at the world. They want the world. They want fulfillment, completion, happiness, right? But they're not quite setting out on it. They've even, if you can see here, this wand is bolted to the side of the castle. So, like it's not ready to go anywhere, right? And they're holding the other one, but there's a sense of feeling like wanting to stay. So maybe you feel or will feel or should think about coming into this week, making some plans, right? And again, I'm thinking travel because of this knight who goes on a journey. The fool is taking the first steps of a journey. And then here are plans to go to the world, right? Or go out into the world. And so it could be metaphorical, but maybe not. It could be a literal journey coming up of some kind. And also, I'm thinking, we're coming up on summer. So maybe you're planning a trip with someone. That is a possibility. Oh, we've got the sun. So this is just such an intense reading. Majors, 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 wands, wands, wands. It's really clear, right? Like big things are happening and they're related to your passion. They're related to you taking action or at least planning to take action. And we've got you really happy here with the sun, right? Open, unafraid, out in the world, enjoying the sunflowers, turning towards the brightness of the sun. Things are getting illuminated. You're celebrating. Maybe you're riding a horse, or maybe you're just with animals. We're seeing animals, the two horses here. But again, it also reinforces this idea of like moving, going on a journey. If we look at the way the images line up, with the Knight of Wands, the horse is facing left. And here we're planning a journey. And here with the sun, the horse is facing right, like we're actually going on the journey. So a very fun, happy, getting the Lovers, the Fool, and the Sun all in one spread for this week. You're going to have a great week. Did I jinx it? What do we get? No! Oh my God! What? Okay, I'm so jealous of whoever is currently watching this video. You have a great week coming up, I think. Here's our Hierophant card that you chose, right? So you are in a position to learn, to grow. If you're at all tired at the beginning of the week, I think you're going to recover very nicely from that. Make some good choices, maybe deepen a relationship with someone, set off on something new, a journey, whether it's actual or metaphorical, but it will be passionate, whatever it is. It will be you taking action to fulfill some desire that you have, and it's going to be warm and cozy, and you're not going to need to feel afraid. You're going to feel like you can take off your armor, you can be your full self in front of people, and you're going to be elevated, right? Elevated, bringing together the different aspects of your personality, bringing together opposites, surrounded by loved ones, I would even say, and feeling like a sense of completeness by the end of this week, right? Because you've got from the Fool at the very beginning of the journey to the World at the very end of the journey. This is so beautiful, this reading. I really hope that you appreciate it and take it in as this week comes up to you. So take a look at these cards. Let's pull out 3 cards from the Squid Cake Tarot, and I think I'll just lay them on top of these for the sake of space. And these, I'm hoping will get a little like a motivational message. Like, here's something for you to remember, to think about, to hold in your mind coming up with this week. And I'm going to try to make it concise. I'm going to try to read these in a concise way. I'll look at them one at a time, and then I'll try to give us like a short, pithy statement to focus on, the focus message for this upcoming week for you Hierophant folks. Okay, here we go. Two of Swords. So again, we're back to making a choice. And also maybe setting some boundaries. King of Batons, right? We had the Knight of Wands here, and here we've got the King. So this would be about having some power, some control over your passion, right? over what you desire. And the Knight of Coins, which is about, again, maybe a journey by land, I would think here, a passionate journey by land. That's what I'm thinking, given the Knight of Wands that we see below there. Two of Swords, King of Batons, Knight of Coins. This week, what you should focus on is deliberately choosing to have control, power over your desires as you go forth on your journey. Deliberately choosing to have control, power over your desires as you go forth on your journey. Okay, this was so wonderful. I loved this reading. I love it when the cards come out like this. I will stop here. If you enjoyed this, please consider liking and subscribing. I very much appreciate that. And tell me down below what resonated with you, what you thought of this reading. I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. And I will see you in your next reading. Hello, Group 2. Welcome to your reading. You chose Fortitude, aka Strength, as your card for the week. And so this is making me think that, maybe you feel like you need to be more yourself around people, your authentic self. Maybe you are feeling like there's some self-control stuff that you're dealing with. I think of Strength or Fortitude as a very centered and gentle and patient kind of person. So maybe those are some characteristics that you're expecting to exercise in this upcoming week. Or maybe you feel like there's a risk that you need to take. I think that we have to be strong in order to take certain risks. So I've got the Weiser Tarot here. I've shuffled them. I'm going to continue shuffling them. And then I'll lay out 7 cards. I do 7 because we're looking at the upcoming week. It's not necessarily 1 card per day. Like, it might just offer a more general description of the upcoming week, or at least of what you should be thinking about for the upcoming week, depending on your feelings about prediction. But they don't necessarily correspond 1 card to 1 day, right? So like 2 or 3 cards might combine together as a little vignette to tell a story, but they don't necessarily say all of this is going to happen on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Okay, so let's get these shuffled, and then we'll lay out 7. Once I've laid out 7 from this deck and read them, I'm going to pull 3 cards from the Squid Cake Tarot as a message for you to focus on in the upcoming week. Okay, here we go. What do we have to start? The sun. Oh, what a wonderful day to start the week. The sun is coming out. It's starting to get warm. At least I think if you're in the northern hemisphere. I don't know where you are. But regardless of your location, you can expect warmth, happiness, coziness, feeling like you can open up. You don't need to have any armor on. No one's going to hurt you, right? You can be kind of silly or childish even at the beginning of the week. You can ride a horse among the sunflowers. That's a great way to start out a week. I love that. Okay, but maybe it doesn't totally last forever. Maybe there's some swords coming up. We've got the 7 of Swords. So, a couple ways to read this. One way could be, of course, the classic interpretation, deception, that someone is maybe not being totally straightforward or real with you, and it's maybe happening behind your back, or maybe you feel like you need to tell a little lie, or you need to do a little bit of deceiving for some reason. So this would be something to watch out for early in the week. Um, is there any of that kind of deception stuff happening? However, an alternate interpretation of this card, if we compare these two figures, we've got this adorable little baby, right? Who's like, I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to giggle and have fun in the sun and ride this horse, and nobody can tell me what to do. And then we've got this figure who's like, it is imperative that I get 5 of these swords and take them away from whatever is going on in these tents and take them away from whatever these people are talking about back here way in the distance and they can't see me. You might have a really good reason for needing to take these swords, right? Like, it's possible that you have ideas or behaviors or thoughts that like other people just are not going to accept, are not going to understand, and they might not get you, right? Like you were over here riding your horse outside with no clothes on, right? And they're like, what? I don't get it. Why is this person behaving like that? They don't make any sense to me. So in this reading, like I think it could also be that it's not necessarily some big grand deception, but it might be more like people aren't totally going to understand what you're doing, what you're thinking, how you're behaving, and that's, that might be okay. Maybe you just have to find your tribe, find your group, who will understand you for being, maybe you're kind of a weirdo sometimes, and you might come across some people early in the week who are gonna give you some side eye and not get it. But there is hope because you've got the star coming up in the middle of the week for you. Again, we have an unclothed figure, right? But here, instead of a baby, it's an adult, right? So this makes me think that, like, early in the week, there may be something that happens with someone or a group of people where, like, you feel like you have to be defensive, that you have to hide something about yourself, that you're having to, like, look back over your shoulder. Maybe you're even feeling kind of paranoid, right? When you really just want to be yourself out in the sun having a good time, right? Um, but you're going to get over that. It's going to be fine. You're going to grow from it. You're going to be able to let everything out, right? Pour out from the vessels unendingly, generously giving of yourself, your real, true, authentic self, not someone who has to sneak around and like wear a funny hat or whatever. Like someone who can be open, doesn't need to have armor or like doesn't need to have their shields up. And also with the star, I think of being guided, right? The North Star gives us direction, right? It shows us where to go. It can help us find our home. It can illuminate things, not in a sun kind of way. So there is maybe a sense of the sun being dimmed, the light being dimmed a little bit more, but there's also the growth that's happening from that. So I think maybe there's a sense here of you needing to be strong about being yourself around others, right? About opening up to others, giving generously of yourself to others, um, even in maybe the face of some adversity or people who just plain old aren't going to get it. All right, after the star, Judgment. So we've got 3 major arcana chosen randomly. So that does make me think this is going to be kind of a big week for you, right? Um, with Judgment, there's rebirth, there's waking up from something. Like maybe here with the 7 of Swords, maybe there's someone who you thought understood you, maybe a friend, like, or any person, like that you have any kind of relationship with, or even an acquaintanceship with. And maybe you thought they got you, and then it turns out they don't. And so you kind of have to be hopeful about moving on and healing a little bit after that experience, and you're waking up to it, right? You're being reborn, you're waking up, you're being called. It could also be a literal call or like a text message from someone that's like letting you know, hey, maybe things aren't exactly like you thought they were in the past, and I'm going to wake you up to that. So maybe you're getting some kind of message right here in the middle of the week that says, hey, you were asleep and you didn't know this thing. And now, bam, I'm going to tell it to you, right? This angel in the sky representing a message that's being called out to you. Another thing that judgment can represent often is like music, right? So maybe music will be important to you in the middle of the week. I can even potentially see you like listening to music, enjoying music with a group of people, and being sort of woken up by that, metaphorically woken up by that. Okay, after judgment, Ace of Cups. That's fun to see. So this is, your cup runneth over. You are nourished. You've got everything fulfilling that you need. All of the sacred waters that you were thirsty for, you've got them. Drink from that cup. Enjoy it. Let it fulfill you. This can be a new relationship or a new phase in a relationship. This can be a new feeling, a new emotion. Like maybe if you've been hurt a little by someone earlier in the week, maybe you're feeling in a new way like you've recovered from that. You've gotten over it. Um, this could be a fountain of creativity if you're a creative person and you are ready to start a new project. This is your sign that just after the midpoint of the week, you can expect a feeling of like imagination, creativity, all of that coming out. It can also be a new relationship, a new friendship, um, a new romantic relationship coming up. All of that could play into um, the Ace of Cups here. It could also signal rain, like maybe it's going to rain where you are in like the mid to late point of the week. That is a possibility. There is a fair amount of water in the middle of the week. I'm just noticing, right? We've got sun here, but then we've got the pool of water. This looks like a lake, and this looks like maybe even an ocean, or maybe a lake. It could be just because there's lily pads on it, and that makes me think more of lakes. But in the whole middle of the week, maybe there's something to do with water. Maybe you're going to be around water. And if it's not actual water, then metaphorically, creativity, fulfillment, nourishment. All of that is lovely to see in the middle of the week. After the Ace of Cups, ooh, the Emperor. So the water diminishes a bit. There's just this tiny little line of water, if you can see it, just a tiny bit of water remaining. So the Emperor is not without emotion, but it's time to move away from that a bit, go up into the mountains, right? Be a little stern, have some more control, have some more discipline about things. Um, Feeling very strong, right? Fortitude, the Emperor, I think they go together to a great extent. So I can see a story being told here of growing strength, right? Starting out, you're maybe a little vulnerable because you aren't thinking about the ways in which um, opening up or even being a little childlike, naive could get you hurt. And then I think maybe early in the week, you're going to feel some of that. You might experience a little conflict, discomfort from an interaction with someone, some situation. But it's not going to last, right? You're going to get over it. There's going to be healing, opening up. You're going to be guided with the North Star there. You're going to feel like you've learned something, you've woken up to your strength, your creativity, maybe even deepening a relationship with someone, and you're going to be sitting up on your throne by the end point of the week, or even like come the weekend, I would think. Let's check this last card. 10 of Pentacles. Cool. So you've got everything you need in the material world, at least, right? You've got, like, maybe it's payday that's possible. I mean, it could be that you're also spending a lot of money. So maybe you're getting a lot of money, or maybe you're spending a lot of money. Either of those could be interpreted from this card. But this would give me a sense that, like, you are in a position um, to give to others, to be generous with others. This is about leaving a legacy behind. This is about metaphorically or actually inheriting something from someone else, or leaving something for someone else to quote unquote inherit from you, right? Like, you are living your life in a way that others that you're leaving an impact that will last beyond you, right? And that's a wonderful thing to see here at the end of the week, right? Like, there's a great sense of growing up from the little child here, becoming an adult, being with other people, turning into an emperor, and now you see the white hair of the emperor mimics or has a visual rhyme here with the white hair of the figure on the 10 of Pentacles. But now that person is with others, right? With a group of people, like a family or a friend group or a chosen family, whatever it might be. And they've got all the resources they need to support their well-being, and they have enough for more than just themselves. We've got dogs here, so maybe we've got pets or animals involved as well. This could also represent, here we've got all the water that I was talking about earlier, and here we've got more like an urban scene. So, like, maybe your location is more urban, like a town, a city, something like that. Like, maybe if you went away to a lake at some point, or away to like the coast, then you're back at home if you live in a city. Or I suppose it could be vice versa, right? Like, maybe a weekend trip to another town, another city, something like that. That's a possibility as well with this card. Okay, so overall, growth, getting stronger, I think, is what we're seeing here in this upcoming week for you, and I love to see it. Those 10 pentacles at the end are really reassuring, I think. So let's take the Squid Cake Tarot and let's give you a focus message, what you should be focusing on as you're thinking about this week coming up. Whatever you've been concentrating on, whatever you're anticipating, let's see if we can throw something new out, change your thinking, change the patterns of your behavior if you're unhappy with them, or reinforce them if you feel like you're currently on the right track. I'll lay out just 3 cards, and my goal here is to give you a kind of pithy little message to leave with as you start your week. 4 of Swords. 4 of Swords. So rest. Maybe some restrictions that you need to put on yourself or other people for the purposes of staying well, growing, staying strong. Ace of Swords. So the swords reduce, right? And you get a sharp mind. So resting to sharpen your mind. Okay. And the Fool. Oh, I love it. I love the Fool. So, let's see. 2 things, sort of, right? Make sure this week to rest, to keep a sharp mind so that you don't act foolishly, but that you can start a new journey. Okay? Rest to sharpen your mind so that you're not foolish, but that you can start a new journey. All right, I hope you enjoyed this reading as much as I did. Please consider liking and subscribing. And if you felt that something resonated here, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Please do let me know. I'd really appreciate it. And I will end the reading there. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you next time. Hello, Group 3, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Chariot card, and so I'm thinking you are anticipating this week some success, a victory, movement forward, maybe actually going somewhere, driving somewhere is possible. Maybe there's a little trepidation. You feel like you don't have total control over where you're going. You know, if you look at the figure in the chariot, they don't have like reins. And so it's not entirely sure, are they steering where this chariot is going or not? So I've got a deck here, the Weiser Tarot. I've shuffled it. I'm going to do a little more shuffling here. And my plan is to lay out 7 cards, not necessarily one for each day of the week, but 7 cards to give us a description of like overall what the week, what we should expect for the week or think about, or like throw something different into our minds for this week. To change up our behavior a little bit or reinforce good behaviors so that we're not just stuck in a rut or repeating a cycle that's not helping us thrive, okay? So I'll lay out 7 cards for the week. We'll flip them over, we'll read them, we'll look at them, and then after that, I'll lay out 3 cards from the Squid Cake Tarot as a focus message for you to take with you into this upcoming week. All right, let's just finish this shuffle. Okay. And 7 cards. All right, here we go. Let's see what we've got. All right, don't panic. It's going to be fine. We're okay. We're starting off the week with the Death card. Now, as you almost certainly know, death does not mean death necessarily. Rarely, I think, does it. What it means is transition. It means transformation. It means change, right? It means change. That's all that death means. Something's changing. So beginning of the week, you can expect some kind of change coming. Could be change for the better, could be change for the worse, but let's look at the rest of the spread before we make any big assumptions about it. I always think it's important to focus on 2 things with this card. Number 1, this beautiful flower, right? Representing new growth, right? And purity, innocence, I think, with the white, right? And then the sun rising between the towers in the background, right? So if you feel like coming out of the previous week that maybe things weren't really going your way, well, that's all about to change, right? And the sun is about to rise. It could also just be like if coming off of the weekend, you're feeling kind of down, right? It's about to take a turn. Take a turn and the wheel turns, doesn't it? So Wheel of Fortune is the next card here. This, of course, is about a change in circumstances. So this is saying this is whatever the change is, it's probably out of your control, okay? So to some extent, there's likely just going to be something you have to accept at the beginning of the week, all right? And we'll look at the other cards for specifics because so far we don't really have any specific details about what this could be. We do have the Chariot, but I feel like I need more cards to say for certain what we're talking about. But whatever this change that's coming is, number 1, it's a circumstance that is potentially out of your control. That certainly is out of your control, I would actually say, with the Wheel of Fortune. It's also possible that it's something that's happening again. That's the other thing that comes to mind with Wheel of Fortune is it turns and it returns, right? So something that has happened is happening again, for better or for worse. I'm actually inclined, looking at these a little more, to think that you're on an upward swing, because if you look at the figures on the wheel, we've got the Sphinx at the top, who at the moment is sitting happy because they're at the top, but it's dangerous at the top, right? Because the only place to go is down. We've got the snake here pointing down on the left, saying this is going out, this is going down, but what's coming up, what's coming in is this Anubis figure is rising up. So whatever this card, I think, is going to say, here's what's coming in. So the death card, the transition, the transformation, the maybe painful change or good change is ending, right? And now it's turning into whatever comes next in this card. Let's see what we've got. The Hierophant. So learning something, I would think here. The Hierophant is about, and all three of these so far are major arcana. So big things this week, big things happening. You're learning something or you're teaching something to others. You're giving counsel and advice to others. You are unlocking secrets, unlocking wisdom with these keys down here. There's something big that you're in the process of exploring and learning. It may or may not have anything to do with spirituality. I do always think of the Hierophant who is pointing up to the heavens, pointing above. So it could be like a spiritual lesson that you're learning, or potentially teaching, depending on which of the figures in the card you actually identify with. So death is on its way out and the Hierophant is on its way in, and you probably don't have a whole lot of control about that. But a really mundane way of reading these cards would just be something like, if you're a student or a teacher, right, the weekend is ending and you got to go back to school, right? That would be the most basic way. Or maybe if you have kids in school, then the kids are going back to school. It could be something like that. But it's like this big transition that you were going through at the very transition from one week to the next, right? Once again, you're in a position to teach or learn or get others in a place where they're teaching or learning. The Hierophant also can just represent any kind of institution, right? Any kind of like societal institution. So it's not actually a school or a college or a university. It can be any other kind of institution. Five of Wands coming up right in the middle of the week. So there might be some friendly competition. If you're a sports person at all, maybe there's some sports happening, like a game that you're playing, or it could be like board games too, any kind of gaming happening. Or if it's not friendly competition, it could be, excuse me, more like unnecessary competition or fighting, right? Maybe at work because it's wands, and so I always think of the career there with wands. So there might be a little of that going on in the middle of the week. Maybe some people not getting along completely. Or just, again, it could be friendly competition. And the Emperor. So we've got the Hierophant, we've got the Emperor, and we've got some friendly competition, I think, between them. So, I don't know who is who in each person's particular situation, but we've got two people up on thrones, right? Looking forward, and the Emperor is about control, discipline, power, can tell people what to do, right? The Emperor can tell people what to do. They're sort of almost like a king kind of a person. They can be a kind of father figure of the tarot deck, of the major arcana. They do tend more to have to do with like what's going on at home, right? As opposed to the Hierophant, which is like out in the world. So there could be a competition or a conflict between like what's happening with control or discipline at home versus what's happening with that out in the world, like in school or even work or any kind of institution, societal institution. Okay, let's check the next one. What do we have? Nine Pentacles. So this is about being independent. You've got all the resources you need to make you happy. There's this adorable little bird here, maybe signifying animals or pets. There's also the little snail. This is a detail that often gets missed. So consider like slow down. By the end of the week, it's time to slow down. Maybe if you're not resting, you're not going as fast as you were with the Chariot. If you're expecting lots of go, 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 make sure you're taking time for yourself to slow down. Maybe indulge in a little bit of luxury. All these grapes growing in the background suggest luxury goods, like maybe some wine or something that would make you feel really comfortable. You can see the beautiful robes that this person is wearing. I think that they're very satisfied with themselves. They're comfortable, and they're indulging a little bit, right? There's this beautiful sort of mansion or house or castle up here in the corner, and out here we are in the garden enjoying the fruits, the literal fruits of our labors. So come the weekend, maybe it's like a staycation kind of a thing. There was some competition earlier in the week with folks, and now you are taking care of yourself. You're indulging a little, and you've got the resources you need to do that. One, keep it in mind, warning thing with this card would be, watch out for spending any resources you don't have for luxury goods to indulge and all of that. That's one thing that can come up with the Nine of Pentacles, is like getting into debt a little bit or spending money that maybe you don't have. Maybe you can use what you already have to slow down and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Ooh, and the Ace of Pentacles to end the week. So maybe you're getting paid. That's a possibility. This can represent like a new income, a new source of money, like a check coming in, something like that. If it's not actually representing money, it can mean you doing something new that you find really valuable, okay? The pentacles that we're seeing grouped at the end of the week really do suggest prioritizing your own well-being. So that is something I would very much want to emphasize, prioritizing your comfort, your well-being, especially if you have to go through some of this death, Wheel of Fortune stuff at the beginning of the week, and maybe some competition or conflict between the Hierophant and the Emperor in the middle of the week. Then I think you're going to need some slow down rest time come the weekend back here. Okay, so let's grab another deck, the Squid Cake Tarot, and I'd like to just give you a pithy little message to focus on as you're starting up your new week. We won't go into huge detail with each of these, but like, what should you have in mind? What should you focus on as you are starting up this new week that starts with a bunch of major arcana, Death, Wheel of Fortune, Hierophant, with the Emperor in there later, and ends with a bunch of pentacles? What should you be focusing on? We'll lay out just 3 cards and leave a little focus message. Focus on 9 of Batons. It matches up a bit maybe with the 9 of Pentacles from before. So this makes me think of an interruption of something, like, whoa, stop, take a break. Okay, so we've got the 5 wands that showed up in the very middle of the previous layout of cards. And so if you need to take a break this week, you know what? You're going to take a break this week. How about that? Nine of Batons. Justice. Justice. So find balance, right? That's really straightforward. If you've got some tough stuff coming up at you at the beginning of the week and competition in the middle, you need to know when it's time to take a break and find some balance for yourself. 8 coins, but then also keep going, I'd say, right? 8 of coins is about skilled professional labor, right? Uniformity, getting all these beautiful little coins all lined up in perfect rows so that they're organized. They keep going. So this week, when you need to find some balance, you're going to take a break, right? But then you're going to keep going again until you get to the end of the week and you can enjoy all of those beautiful pentacles in your garden and recover and have your well-being and maybe spend a little money on yourself if you feel like that will help you to recharge after this week. So see, starting off with the 13th card of the Major Arcana is not necessarily something to be afraid of at all. Okay, everyone, I will end it there. I hope that you enjoyed this reading. Please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know in the comments what resonated for you here in these cards, and I hope you have a wonderful week going forward. I will see you in your next reading.